Good morning and welcome back to the Brother Man podcast. I am Theta and it is a beautiful morning, and I hope so it is for you as well, wherever you are waking up all across the beautiful globe, that you are waking up upbeat and energetic, ready to tackle everything the day has to offer you. That you're able to overcome obstacles and hindrances to your pursuit of happiness, your pursuit of joy, and that you are blessed continually, that there's goodness that follows you throughout your day, week, month, season, and that you are well in your mind, spirit, soul, body, and conscious. For those of you who are my returning listeners, I do want to express again my gratitude for your continuance with the podcast. It can't be understated how important it is, everything that you do in terms of liking, following, sharing within your network, the Brother Main podcast. For those of you who are new listeners, what we do on the Brother Man podcast is we discuss, esoteric concepts, some current events, things like that, personal experiences, perspectives, and we, crack jokes, keep things lively. So I do appreciate you for listening today too. I also want to mention that I have, recently undertaken another venture on YouTube called 7732 Interviews. And what we do on 7732 Interviews is we interview interesting people, inside and outside the faith, get their perspectives on things and their struggles. We'll give them basically the floor to talk about their lives. And I recently had the privilege of interviewing a trio of individuals, real individuals, been through a lot of things. And another individual, who had, substance abuse issues. His name is Justin. The first, set of individuals, their names are Dion, Spencer, and Steve. And then another gentleman as well. His name is Fame, and he is a music pioneer, specializing in hip-hop and R&B, on the come up and doing things like that, working with notable musicians, in the industry, and hopefully looking to put out a film as well, that he's working on. So it was a great set of interviews. Please do check out 7732 Interviews on the same Brother Main 777 channel on YouTube. That'd be greatly appreciated. So the topic for this morning is writ, the importance of writing, throughout history and in modern times. We're not going to have any rigid notes for this one, right? So I'm kind of, freestyling, but I'm good at that. So we're just going to talk about writing, and, cite some examples of writing throughout history, encourage some individuals out there who do writing, and, talk about, personal experiences. I am a writer, and some current projects that I'm working on and where I hope to go in the future with that. All right, so let's dive right in. So writing throughout history, right? Where did it all begin? Well, the first, examples of writing that we have in history were, of course, for a productive manner, right? it would be a tool to keep records. We have the ancient Sumerians, Mesopotamians, the Inca, the Aztec, the ancient civilizations, Egyptians, things like that. And they would have used writing to keep records of things, and the scribes and things like that. So, of course, writing was first a tool. And we see that, in the archaeological, exploits. We go into the caves and we see the cave, markings and things like that. We look at the papyrus leaves that were gathered throughout time. We look at, even in a biblical context, right? We see writing in various formats. You get Homer and the Iliad, and sharing of ideas as well. You get Moses and the Ten Commandments in the Christian faith, which is, of course, I'm a Christian. I will express that, and that was remarkable. That was both, kind of somewhat of a record keeping, but more of a sharing of God's commandments for His people in that time. So, of course, writing has always been important. That's what we want to stress today, the importance of writing, And still today we keep records of things, and maybe a digital format. We have tablets. Back then they might have had, physical, just, clay or, metal tablets, but today we have, technology, and we still keep records at least, but writing has always been important. Shifting from the idea of keeping records, we have the idea of communication, correspondence. Writing has always been a tool to relay information. Correspondence, similar to, or in the exact ideal of maybe someone like Rene Descartes, who kept correspondence with his contemporaries, Marin Mersenne, Blaise Pascal, Fermat, and things like that. Or letters, there's the Pony Express, where people send letters, and it'd take months, right, to send a letter and then receive a response. But people would engage in that correspondence via writing because, again, it was very important. People wanted to keep in touch, during times of peace, during times of war. So writing was used for communication and correspondence. But the next idea of writing is the expression of creativity, right? You have people throughout time like Shakespeare and Petrarch and Ralph Waldo Emerson, Ralph Waldo Ellison, or Henry David Thoreau, which is very big on my heart, today. Henry David Thoreau would have been responsible for From Walden, where we get that timeless adage of, I went to the woods to live deliberately, to live deeply, and suck out the marrow of life. So we had the expression of creativity or the iteration of ideas in various formats throughout time. Because we as humans are beings who have that desire to express ourselves creatively in a literary format. It's a beautiful thing, and again, it's an idea that will never die. If I shift here, to my personal story of writing, I am a writer, and I expressed that in the preliminary episodes of the Brother Main podcast. If you have not listened, all of those episodes are available on the homepage of the Spotify, for the Brother Main podcast, but as well as in the playlist on YouTube. Again, that's Brother Main 777. You're probably listening right now. It'd be those first few episodes where I express, that I am a writer working on, screenplays, television shows and things like that. I've been influenced myself by, various, TV shows and movies. All of that is writing, because those are all screenplays, In addition to those, I'm also working on my book, The Method for Correctly Conducting the Conscious. And it's been a journey, I'm reminded of, Game of Thrones, which began as a book and then made it to television. And that'd be a shout out to George R.R. Martin out there, wherever he is, if he's listening. Been greatly influenced by that, and it's exceptional writing, tales and stories of dragons and kings and things like that. Would be Game of Thrones. And other writings like All the King's Men or Voltaire's Candide, Invisible Man. That'd be by Rolf Waldo Emerson. That one's big on my heart. And all of this within the context of my mother's passing. Again, I expressed that in the preliminary episodes as well. We lost her last year. Rest in paradise to her. And why that's so important, because she was never an established writer, but she did study English, and she pursued that passion as much as she could until, unfortunately, cancer became so deleterious to her pursuit of that ambition that she had to resign. But as I'm now finding, as might be evidence throughout history as well, on a macrocosm, that continual desire. I have that innate connection with her, even now in her absence, to write myself, and express myself in various formats and relay ideas and augment, add unto, literary profundity. So it's a blessing. I hope it, leads into, greater connections with people, inside the media and entertainment industry, inside the literary world, where I'm able to someday put out my works. But this would be, also an opportunity to encourage others. If you're listening out there and you are a writer, sometimes it gets hard. Writing, doesn't always pay financially regularly, and so, or you might get something like writers or creative block. You might write poems, poetry, or books, or things like that. Or you might be a young Stan Lee out there who you want to write, new comics and things like that. Never give up is what I'd say. I had the recent privilege of meeting a girl, an individual. Her name is Marmalade. And she's going through some issues. I won't get into the full details of that, Beautiful soul, beautiful spirit, despite her circumstances. But she's a poet, a modern poet. I had the privilege of briefly looking over some of her poetry. It was good stuff. So this would be a shout out to her, wherever she is. She's listening. Again, never give up that ideal, because writing can take us in so many different avenues and so many different paths, right? It can open up doors and things like that, where they wouldn't have been opened up before. And again, there's a crisscross, of where, books, can become movies or TV shows, and vice versa, where amazing, engaging correspondence can be entered into, right? That can stand the test of time, that can shape modern ideals. Philosophy, if that's important to you, or if that's desirable to you. Theology, physics, metaphysics. Or you could just tell a story. Something like The 100. That'd be a shout out to the cast of The 100 out there. Blessings to you. As well as the writers, behind the scenes, who sometimes go neglected. We stress their importance of creating that show. If you're not familiar with The 100, please seek it out and go ahead and watch that. It is a great story. Went for several seasons and really helped to kind of shape the fictional writer that I am. Flesh out a set of characters, or main character that lasts and has an amazing, influential story. So I'll give the final word. Let us never neglect the importance of writing as we continue to share ideas and explore literary creativity in all of its various formats, expressing our passions, ambitions, dreams, and desires in an impervious manner that will stand the test of time. Thanks for listening, and blessings from the Brother Man.